And welcome everyone. You're listening to iTalk 106.7 FM, the voice of the mountain. I'm your host, Janine Ford. So glad you're rolling with us today, and hope you're having had a great day at work and you're on your way home safely. I have Cope Reynolds in the hot seat, and I also have Francine Arthur on the phone with the Freedom House. And welcome, guys. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Janine? Thank you for having us on here today.
Hi, Francine. How are you?
I'm doing good today. Thank you for having me on your show.
Good. Okay. And Francine, first, you are with the Freedom House. Tell our listeners, what is the Freedom House?
The Freedom House is a place where our Navajos and anybody who is on the reservation around Window Rock area who can come and visit us and just talk about the issues, the current events, share their stories. We laugh, we cry, we eat, and we just have fun just talking about things that are on our mind.
Okay, that is awesome. And we, of course, are in an election season, and kind of our topic, and that I've talked to Francine about before, and Cope, is kind of looking at the people and the wonderful people that live out on the reservations and why they kind of always tend to lean Democrat on the ticket. Right, Cope?
Yes, ma'am. That's a huge thing out there. And I think that And I've got some things that I want to add to this after Francine and Harrison get done. I don't want to take up too much Francine's time because we're running a little low. But,
yeah. So Francine, what? Now you vote as a Republican, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. There are far more Democratic people on the reservation than Republicans. Why is that? Do you know?
Because my understanding is historically Navajos have always voted Democrat. And Navajos, some may not know, they are conservative. And we have conservative values. We believe in tradition, family, culture, our homeland. And we've just historically voted Democrat. But there is about 12,000 registered Republicans on the Navajo reservation. So, Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that's what it's always been. And I've learned that our political system, our government, has changed since the days of JFK. It's just different now. So people have a broader choice.
Yeah, see, I think that's the biggest thing is that way a million years ago in Pennsylvania, like my dad's family, a lot of my family, they were Democrats, but they no longer. I mean, they say the Democrat Party has totally changed, totally flipped over. And I just don't know if a lot of people realize that.
I think the Democrat Party in those days was probably at least as conservative as the Republicans are nowadays.
Right.
The party has left them.
Yeah, and now they're so far left and becoming so radical. So Francine, you work hard to get that word out. What do you tell some of, you run into different tribal members that maybe want some information. What do you say to them?
I ask them and explain to them what a conservative is. You can be a conservative Democrat, conservative Republican, but what is that? And I let them know and give them the definition. Just like I said earlier, you believe in traditional values, customs, family, your land, your country, and those are very important to you. And I explain it to them that what we have is, and what you do is being a conservative. So I start from there, then I ask them, just what do you... I don't usually ask them how they vote. I just explain to them that it doesn't matter what party, Democrat, Republican, as long as you find a conservative candidate that shares your values, that shares your issues, that shares your morals and thinking, and vote for the conservative candidate that will represent you.
Yeah. Are more and more of them getting concerned looking at some of the issues that the Democrats are running on, that it might be becoming more socialist, Marxist type of thing? Or more of them getting concerned about that?
I believe so. They don't talk a lot about it. I talk about the issues of the inflation, the illegals, our immigrants that are coming over, and how much land mass we have. I talk about our gas prices. I talk about the opportunities that we've had all these years since we signed the treaty. But I also talk about the radical ideas and issues that are happening in Arizona, just like with the abortion issue, and how they want to change from 15 weeks to birth or at birth. I talk to them about the benefits that immigrants are getting just coming over, just crossing the border. And Navajos or Native Americans in general, were not given citizenship until 1924.
Yeah, and see that's so hard because now they're just pouring across, and Sheriff Mark Lamb was pointing out that they've just been given another $390 million to spread out, on those EBT cards, to give them more on their cash cards.
How fair is that?
I mean, I know. It blows your mind that they're just handing them all of our tax dollars. That's what I think is going to come back. That is going to be a problem too. Is that a lot of us are all paying taxes, and it's all just, we're giving it to illegal migrants that are just flooding across the border. What is that all about? You know what I mean? And now the other thing that blows my mind is talking to Sheriff Klaus, that now we have like old-fashioned train robberies up across the, up along the 40, the train tracks that run up there. They have to have a special unit now watching. They have illegal migrants jumping the trains and transporting stuff. They find these box trucks or box cars out hidden in an area. Then they're catching migrants. They're having to watch them and follow. It's like old-fashioned train robberies. Where they're riding the trains up there, all along across 40. So it's here, and it's a little scary, and with the gang members and everything. So we all have to take part in that. Well, and what would you want to say to a lot of your members out there? Like to invite them to the Freedom House, or what would you like to say to them this election season?
I would like my Navajo people to really think about who they're going to vote for and why they're voting for them, and how much it's going to cost you. How much are you going to lose? How much are you going to gain, if anything at all? And really research the candidates and the issues that are out there. We participated in the Navajo Nation Fair recently, and we've probably had a 50-50 reaction, good and bad. But now on Facebook, I see a lot of very blindsided Navajos that don't understand, like you're saying, what's happening to Navajo Nation. And you're right, it's here. They're here, and it's happening here. And please just be mindful of it and how it's affecting you. And you're right, Janine, that's our tax dollars. We work really hard, and we pay like everyone else, but we're not getting the benefits in return.
Yes, exactly. And you now when Carrie Lake and Eli Crane went up, pretty warm welcome up there, right?
Yes, they were. I thought they were, but unfortunately, we have the other candidate that's running, Mr. Nez, that I understand was telling the crowd he was ahead of the floats, and he was telling the crowd to boo them and to shake his signs at them. So, as a Navajo leader, a prior Navajo leader, what value does that show of him? What leadership skills does that show of him? Right. So we did have some negativity, I believe, due to that.
Yeah. I know Lisa Green was telling me she didn't even know they were doing that at first, and then they realized that. Yeah,
they were right in front of me when I did it.
You were there too, huh?
Right in front of me when he said that.
Really?
He probably said it several times along the route, but he was right in front of me when he said there's a float coming up. He said, I want you to do the thumbs down and boo and wave my signs and stuff.
I don't know. That's kind of sounding like the angry, hateful Democrat way now.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, Francine, do you anything else we want to talk to Francine about before we?
No. I think we.
Francine, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. We so appreciate you. And again, tell folks where the Freedom House is located.
Yes, the Freedom House is located in St. Michael's, Arizona. The best place to find it and how to find it is it's the old Los Verdes restaurant. It's on the north side of the Catholic Church off of Highway 264, where Cool Runnings used to be located. So everyone's welcome. And we have meetings every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. And just last week we watched a debate on the television, and it was really insightful. And, how would you say, just wow, is this what's happening to our government?
Yeah, I know. And how ABC handled that was just really bad. It was so bad.
Yes.
I've never seen anything that bad, I know. And they only fact checked him, and now she's been caught on 21 to 25 where she should have been fact checked lies in there. It just was not good. Not cool. And she was given the questions beforehand, it looks like. Now all those whistleblowers are saying that she was given the questions. All righty. Well, Francine, thank you so much. We so appreciate you, okay? You have a great day.
Thank you. You too, Janine.
Bye, Francine.
Bye-bye, Francine. Thank you, sweetie.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, keep it right here. We're on iTalk 106.7 FM. The Voice of the Mountain will continue this conversation with Cope Reynolds, and we have
Harrison
Yazzie coming on. Okay, keep it right here. And welcome back. iTalk 106.7 FM, the Voice of the Mountain. I'm your host, Janine Ford, and we are continuing our conversation right now about voting on the reservation areas here in northern Arizona, and how tribal members have traditionally kind of been Democratic, and now more of them are moving to the right because of how radically left the Democrats have become. And Cope Reynolds is in here. We were just on the phone with Francine Arthur with the Freedom House, and she was talking to us, and we have another caller that we're waiting for right now. Who's calling in next again?
Harrison Yazzie will be
Harrison
calling
Yazzie.
in a little bit. Yeah.
Harrison Yazzie. And Cope, you were saying you had some information on this too as well.
Yeah, I do. There's one of the things that they say out there on the reservation, this is a very common slogan out there, is vote blue no matter who.
Ooh.
What's up with that?
Even if they're moving toward communist and Marxist
ideals?
Well,
I don't think that they spend as much time watching the news out there and stuff as some of us do, and I don't know if they fully understand
they know what's been happening.
Some of the things that that's going on. But what they're doing when it's suggested that they do that, they're suggesting to you that you're not capable of thinking for yourself. Mm-hmm. They're taking away your independence, and they are traditionally, the Navajos are a maternalistic society.
Yes. Good morning.
Is that Harrison?
Yes, Harrison's on the phone. Harrison Yazzie. How are you, Harrison?
I'm doing fine. I'm on the road actually, but I hope driving on the road does not interfere.
You're sounding good. It sounds pretty good to me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're having a conversation here. We were just talking to Cope, and he was talking about some of the history of people out on the reservation kind of being Democratic. And he was kind of saying, and I wanted you to comment on this, that a lot of them out there maybe are not watching the news so much, and they haven't seen how radical and left the Democrats have become.
Okay. Yeah, that's, I agree with him. And, sadly, that we are beginning to find out, after all these years, how much these people up here without any internet or without any anything, that is going on, that they would listen to and to make their decisions on, has been too far behind, because they listen to some of these elders up here, like, let's say, the chapter house officials or the Navajo tribe officials, the presidents, and all of these, that go in and out. They're the only ones, that come across to them through the radio, the local KTNN radio station. And, of course, some of the border town radio stations, too. But predominantly KTNN, which is Navajo station.
So a little bit more of it is about education and what they're not getting, right?
Yes, they're not being educated, and they're only told that you've been a Democrat. I've heard over and over in the years, there's times that in the past that I never voted. finally I realized, that I should vote. And back in, I say maybe into the 90s, I began to cast my vote. But before that, it was only these leaders that are heavily Democratic would tell these people, like I said, that they need to be voting Democrats because the Democrat, that's what they say we are the Democratic state, the Democratic nation. So they never went any further of educating their people what the other party is about.
Yeah, and I would think that tribal members and tribal people are by nature pretty conservative, right? And believe in their traditions and family and conservative values, right?
Exactly. Conservative very much because, I've seen, I've been raised, in a family. My mother, my father, back in the 50s, late 50s, and into the 60s, and where I grew up around them. Maybe like 3 months out of a year. The rest 9 months, we spent our time in the boarding schools. At least we are educated, but we're never taught, about any politics. But I remember my mother, she never was educated. My father the same way. But my father was a construction worker. He helped built a lot of these BIA roads on the reservation. And he would come home with money in his pocket. And he would take us, to Gallup, to towns, and he always worked. He always brought home something. My mother the same way. She was a conservative woman. She wove, and she started, with shearing sheep, or she would go and buy or ask of people that have maybe butchered their sheep, for them to consume. She would ask for the skin, and she would collect them, and she would shear them, and she would get the wool off of it, and then she would card it, clean it, and then she would spin it.
Oh, wow. See, those are wonderful traditions, yeah.
Into yarns, into she would make something so that she could feed us. She was a conservative, very conservative.
That's why I remember years and years ago when I heard that the reservations generally voted Democratic, I was shocked because the Democrats are liberals. They're not conservative, and the Republicans are conservative. How do you make that transition? How do you what do you say to other tribal members that they just don't know that they're voting liberal?
Well, I would say that that they have missed a tremendous opportunity, in the past to where they've only expressed what they were told as well. And I'm sure that these liberal, or let's say Democrat, because most of our nation's leaders that come and go, the only one that I would recall, going back is a man, and he is still living, by the name of Peter MacDonald. He was a Republican, and they hated him. They didn't like him. So these leaders that come and they don't tell them about these things. The only thing that they put into these people is scare tactics, fear.
Yeah, right.
They tell them Republican is nothing but rich people, and you're not rich. You're going to be poor, as they're telling them that you are like a bug in a jar, that you will not get out of it. You're going to stay the same.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I think, that the nation people, the Navajo people, have been brainwashed, to believe, that they will not get out of the jar to go and do and find things, that they could further themselves in.
That's sad. That is so sad.
So the leaders are the ones, that are told that you are a Democrat. So go back to your reservation and tell these people that they are Democrats. And they will die on the vine, if they should start voting otherwise.
Well, Harrison Yazzie, it's really good that you're kind of spreading this word and talking to other tribal members. Where can they go to learn more?
Well, there's a committee that is formed here in we are here in Sanders. It's called VIBE, and that is basically just educating our local people of what these parties represent, the Democrat and Republicans, and we tell them the difference, the platform that they all have, and we try to explain to them that this over here is Democrat, and they believe this. Like we go down and say, they believe in open borders, they believe in abortion, et cetera, and then over here the Republicans, they don't like abortion, they don't want open borders. So, a vast difference. And we try to tell them, that now, what about you? What about your life?
And see, that's so important. One thing I think about too is I wonder, it shocks a lot of people, to know that they want to cover our lands, like especially in northern Arizona right now, these gigantic metal windmills, that are not environmental at all. And do you know that when they take them away, the giant metal dinosaurs, they just get to leave the bottoms? 40 feet deep of cement and rebar, 40 feet wide in a circle, and they just get to, they will ruin our lands with these, and they all have like 85 to 110 gallons of crude oil in them. They take tons of water to keep them cool. I mean, it's monstrous. And the Green New Deal is nothing more than a lie. So they'd ruin our lands. So there's so many things that are not at all, that are totally go against what I would think would be a conservative value on our reservations. Do you know what I mean? And in our lands.
Right, because Navajo are, very, very fond of their land. The land that the government had given them, that gave it back to them.
Yes.
I mean, back when they were enslaved and back when they were imprisoned into the Fort Sumner. So now that they are, they come back because they wanted to come home. They wanted to come back to live in between the four sacred mountains, and they tried, even though that we believe, that our land was vast, it was beyond those boundaries, but yet they've been told that they can go back to their land. So even then, the land that we have, this reservation that we have, is fenced in. We are fenced in.
Yeah.
But it's not ours.
Yes.
They say you can live on it, but it belongs to the government.
Right.
So,
and I know that one of the congressmen, one of the senators, they were coming up with, this whole plan, and they're Republicans, saying to title the land to the Native Americans. And that's what Republicans say. But not Democrats.
The Democrats didn't offer that.
Don't. And the reason they didn't offer that, and Congressman Gosar, I believe, was part of that in Arizona that has tried to push for that. The reason Democrats don't believe in that is they want control. They want to control you. And that's what I think if every Navajo and Apache and different Native American tribes knew, it's just a way to control you. Well, we have to take a short break. Can you hang on with us, Harrison?
Yes, I'm actually on the road. I am doing a project in St. Michael, so I'm going to get back on the road, and some places, I get into a dead zone. But I'm
Okay. We're good for right now and stuff. Why don't you go ahead and you take care of your business? And Harrison Yazzie, we're so thankful that you called in. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, and you have a great day. And we'll continue our conversation here with Cope Reynolds. Harrison, thank you so much for calling in. You have a great day, okay?
Bye-bye.
All righty, everybody. And keep it right here on iTalk 106.7 FM, the voice of the mountain. We'll continue this conversation with Cope Reynolds. And welcome back. iTalk 106.7 FM, the voice of the mountain. I'm your host, Janine Ford. Continuing our conversation with Cope Reynolds, and we're kind of talking about our wonderful tribal lands and the people who live up on the reservations here in the White Mountains, and kind of the history of the voting thing and the Democrats and Republicans and kind of the struggles therein and their feelings. And we heard from Harrison Yazzie. We also had Francine Arthur with the Freedom House up there talking. And Cope, you were saying earlier about some of this history.
Yeah, being, as I was saying before Harrison called it, being a very maternalistic society, these people are traditionally pro-life. The family ties up there. I have a good friend up there right now with a dad who is 100 in January. He'll be 108 years old.
Wow.
And he's not doing real well right now. So I don't go any farther with that. But anyway, we've got several friends up there, and they are so family oriented. I've never seen a group of people anywhere that I've been. I've been all over the world, and I've never seen a group of people that are so family oriented. And that is diametrically opposed to everything that the Democratic Party stands for.
Yeah. And I think a lot of them, just like we heard from Harrison, a lot of them just don't know. They aren't
Exactly.
watching the media and how left and liberal and about control the Democrats are.
And that gets back to the $700 million or whatever it was that President Trump gave them, largest amount of money that any president's ever gave them. And it didn't go to where it was supposed to go. It was supposed to go for broadband internet and roads and water and stuff like that, and infrastructure that they don't have. And because they don't have that, they're not able to keep up with it. They can't just jump in the car and run down to the community center. Sometimes it may take them an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to get to somewhere where they can have those luxuries that we take for granted. And so they're not as well educated in what's going on in current events because it's difficult for them to get that medium. So, but I got a couple things here for him that you remember Andrew Jackson,
Right.
great war hero, Old Hickory and all that. He was a very wealthy slave owner. He was extremely racist. And in 1830, he signed the Indian Removal Act. And because of that, he waged war against the Creeks and the Cherokees, and I believe the Seminoles. And his idea of this was to, he did this to get their land, obviously to push them out. He tried to push them west to get their land. And so he got the nickname of Indian Killer. And Sharp Knife was another one. So he ordered the killing of women and children to make this extinction complete, to get rid of them. And to make a long story short, he was very brutal, very racist, very hateful man. And you know what? He founded the Democratic Party.
Wow.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
You know what? I had forgotten all about that. Wow. Yeah.
Okay? Ku Klux Klan was founded not by the Democratic Party, but by members of the Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah.
Not the party
Yep.
itself.
I know that.
Nathan Bedford Forrest, that everybody thinks such a great Civil War hero. And he was, but because of, he was that, but he was also the first Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and he was a Democrat.
All Democrats, yeah.
He tried to overthrow the Republicans completely 2 different times in there. In 1871, a Republican president is the one that stopped all this. President Grant, U.S. Grant, was the one that stopped all that. So traditionally, if you're educated and look back at the things that's gone on, the Democrats are in the early days, like I said a while ago, they were more conservative than a lot of the Republicans are nowadays. You know, when I was a kid, I had my maternal grandmother and grandfather, they were Democrats. But back then, you just agreed to disagree, and it was no big thing. It was nothing.
Right. And
it was not an issue.
And we're a long way from the conservative Democrats now. I mean,
Are we
that's
ever.
why you look at RFK right now making his move, and so many Democrats making their move to the Republican Party, or at very minimum to become an independent, leaving the Democrat Party.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what this has done, in my mind, has taken away their independence, not only in the way that they tell them to vote, when they don't even know why, they're just told to vote blue.
Yeah, no matter
So
what.
they're taking away their independence. And the Navajos were traditionally very independent and fierce and did their own thing. They were very adamant about getting back here on their land and all that stuff. And Canyon de Chelly in the Treaty of, 1864 or whatever, Canyon de Chelly was specifically named in that treaty. They have pretty much all control over that. There's people that live today still in Canyon de Chelly, in the bottom of it, not on the outside edges. They live in it. And this is a very sacred thing for them. And this, if you want change, if you want to maintain these things, you need to think about that when it comes time to vote. There was a quote by, let me think of his name here. It was Calvin Coolidge in May of 1926. He said, "Unless bureaucracy is constantly resisted, it breaks down representative government and overwhelms democracy. It sets up the pretense of having authority over everybody and being responsible to nobody." Now that's quote of the year for me.
Yeah, and see, the saddest thing when they talk about when they're like saving democracy, the Democrats, they're doing the opposite.
Yeah,
They're trashing democracy. It's kind of like how they put Kamala in place. She wasn't elected. They just she's been appointed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that
Exactly.
it flies in the face of everything Democratic.
Now,
you know?
why do Democrats not? Why are they not upset about that? They took away their opportunity to vote their choice, to vote their primary candidate in.
I know.
They just said, "Here she is. This is who you get."
This is who we want. She was appointed. Yeah, that's so scary. And they've totally, exactly.
They just go along.
They
Okay, that's what we're told to do. Let's do it.
And they're not upset about it. It's like they just keep marching along the sheep. It's just sad. It's just really crazy. Yeah.
There was, you remember Pogo, right? Back in the day.
Yes.
He had a quote that said, "I have seen the enemy, and he is us." That's a play on a quote from Commodore Perry, the second Commodore Perry. No, actually the first. Commodore Oliver Perry was older than Matthew Perry during the War of 1812 in the Battle of Lake Erie, I think it was. Anyway, there was another quote. But anyway, what that means is, and we say the same thing sometimes. Sometimes we are our own worst enemy.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes you have nobody to blame but yourself when you have problems. You know, sometimes it's your own fault.
Right.
And
I would think too, the tribal members, just the borders being wide open and all the giveaways and giving away millions and millions and millions of tax dollars to take care of them and their cash cards and we're not even vetting any of them. They're leaving it wide open to just, basically trash the country, and that should bother them, you would think.
And who was that? We heard, I think it was Francine a while ago, said that they got their citizenship in 1924.
Yeah.
If I was a Native American, any tribe,
Yeah.
I would be so pissed.
Yeah. And
I mean,
so many
this is-
people work so hard to get their citizenship, and they've gone through years and years of training. I know many of them, wonderful people, Mexican Americans that are just so wonderful, and they fought so hard for that and studied and jumped through all the hoops, and now it's just a free for all. Just come on in. Yeah.
I have a friend that's Australian. He's now living up in Iowa, I believe. And when he came over, it cost him thousands of dollars, and stumbling block after stumbling block, not to mention COVID was part of it. Before he finally got his citizenship, I actually went up there and did a he because of COVID, people they weren't allowed to go to the ceremony when he got his. And
I love that ceremony. That's such a good ceremony.
I hated that he wasn't allowed to do that. So I went up there to. He was living in Idaho at the time. I went to Idaho and we did a. What do you call it? A duplicate or a ceremony for him. And I swore him in and everything.
Oh, sweet.
Just for.
Yeah, that if you've never been into a swearing-in ceremony of citizenship, it's so wonderful. You just can't help but get emotional. You're just like, oh.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Some sweet Filipino friends that they became citizens. I went down there and watched her and her whole family, and we were just all crying. It was awesome. Yeah.
And we, since I spend a lot of time up on the reservation with this campaign right now. I've got a lot of friends. I've got second home up there where I just go up and stay, when I'm campaigning up there, and they are the warmest, most
nicest
kind,
people.
wonderful people, and I just love them to death.
Yeah, and we might mention that Cope Reynolds is running for Apache County Sheriff.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing real well. I'm real happy with the way things are going. So
nice,
and a lot of it is due to the relationship that I'm developing up there on the reservation too.
Such good people.
Yep,
yeah,
I agree.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And so this, as far as also, we want to remind everybody that it's not too late to register to vote. Okay?
October 7th.
And if you're a little confused and stuff too, get registered. Register as an independent if you want. Just register to vote and make sure you get your voice heard.
And that's what I did. In 2020, I said, you know what, I'm very disappointed with the way things are going with the Republican Party. I'm not ready to go to the Democrat Party. So I went independent. I make up my own mind. I make my own decisions. I'm not beholden to either party. And I think that, and I'll tell you something else. If I had, I wouldn't take away their freedom of choice, their freedom of their free will to make their own decisions, but I would like to see all of the Navajo, all of the Native Americans go independent.
Yeah. Because
it's become, the right and the left now has become two different wings of the same buzzard. I mean, I think that they should be able to have the independence, not by being an independent, but having the independence to make up their own mind.
Right, and I always voted as an independent. I'm a Republican now. I've gone more that way, but for fiscally, I'm pretty darn conservative and everything. But I socially not as much. But as I was always voted as an independent, like for years and years and years when I was more part of the media down the valley. But then recently became a Republican. But I like the idea of voting independently and then you can vote for who you want, and you're not bugged so much by one of the other parties all the time.
And they need to understand that this is not the primary coming up. You can vote, no matter what your party is. You can vote independent if you like. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can be a Republican and you can vote Democrat, or you can be a Democrat and vote Republican. Anyone you want.
Vote conservative, whatever you do.
Yes, just conservative, and really know who the conservative people are. Yeah, and who are the wolves in sheep's clothing.
Do some research, get educated, and I'll tell you what a lot of the Navajos out there do listen to radio a lot because they don't have some of the other options. They can go get a DVD, they can go get a game, and get that stuff, but they can't go get the news and put it on their TV.
Just as easily.
Because a lot of them just don't have it.
And if they do have the news, if you're watching just CNN or MSNBC, just for a couple nights, watch Fox or watch one of these other ones. Newsmax, and check out some of the other headlines, because then you're going to go, oh my gosh, because like that debate, ABC was so slanted. It was so rigged. It was awful, just absolutely awful. So you have to watch all of it. And I switch it around. I watch different people all the time. So that's a big thing.
And that's the thing. If you, it doesn't matter. People say, well, the new, even Fox, they say that they're not telling you the truth. Well, you still need to know what they're saying.
Yeah, and then you're getting
because it affects you, whether it's the truth or not. It still affects you, whether it's what you want to hear. It affects you. Listen to all of them, like you said. Listen to CNN once in a while, or watch it, or MSNBC.
But don't trust the big media in general. Just do your own research on everything. And Cope, thank you so much. We are just running out of time here. But how do they get more information on your run?
My website is Cope for Sheriff. It can be number 4 OF or FOR, either one. CopeForSheriff.com. And I've got a Facebook page of Cope for Apache County Sheriff.
Awesome,
on
awesome.
Facebook. So.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks to Harrison Yazzie and Francine Arthur. Big thanks to you guys. And remember, the most important thing, just get out and vote.
Absolutely. You
November
got till
5th.
October 7th to get registered if you're not.
Get registered. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. iTalk 106.7 FM, the voice of the mountain. Thank you so much, Cope.